Hey guys, so welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. This is Chandra here. We have a very special tarot card reading tonight, and this is for Andrew. And this is actually two questions. This is going to be a two-question reading that we're going to really look at in depth, both related to sort of the same thing. And this is about the relationship that Andrew has with his wife, and really what else he can do to heal the relationship. And what is, what advice, what can we get from this relationship in order to improve it and to get the best outcomes? So let's learn. So we've been shuffling the spots off of these cards all night. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, my name is Chandra. I'm a monk, and we do, as I've been a psychic, I guess you would say, since I was a small child. Had some psychic phenomenon that happened when I was just a small boy, where I had a kind of a negative experience, I guess you would say. Were very memorable, where I picked up some very heavy energy, and I sensed that these people would pass away in this car accident, and they did. And that was really the first documented situation where I had predicted something and it came true, and shocked my parents, it shocked society, and went off, did some ESP schooling back in those days, and my intuition has just grown ever since, and now I just pick up things very, very easily. And as a monk, sometimes it's kind of hard to explain from a monk's perspective, but it's a gift that God has given me. And so as a result of that, I try to give back in service, back to humanity, with love in my heart, in the best way that I possibly can. And so this is one of the ways that I do that. This is something that I've been picking up a lot of energy around this particular reading with Andrew since I got his messages, and he was wanting to get some resolve on this. And it's something that I couldn't just get back to him right away with, because I was picking up things and just had to kind of have a little settling time, so where I could just kind of focusing in on it. So we're just going to cut the cards, and had a jumper card. Great. And now do the tarot card reading. So guys, the way this works, 7 cards. First 3 cards are past, present, future. Then we're going to look at where the answer of this whole reading comes to. It's sort of the key that unlocks the great mystery behind all of it. Then we're going to look at the energy surrounding the current moment. We're going to look at really where Andrew's energy is, kind of what his desire would be, kind of his attitude about everything. Finally, we're going to then go in and look at the final outcome. Let's get started. First cup, past. This is the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups, all about relationships, all about influence over relationships. That's where this comes into play at. It's about emotional influence. It's about being sort of empathic, understanding how people feel, how to interact with them based on their emotions. And so I pick up right now that Andrew has pretty much done that with his wife for a period of time throughout the relationship. He's really kind of connected or clued in on those emotions kind of intuitively. Cups are also about intuition. Let's go to the moment. So in the present moment, we have death. Death can be a physical death. It can also be, which is very literal. It can also be it's one about change, and that's what we're seeing going on in this particular reading right now. So we have the 8 there in the numerology. So this is the 8th card in the major arcana. And so death itself represents, in this particular case, I'm picking up that it's really about change or transformation. It's a changing of the relationship. We'll talk more about it in a moment. Death looks really scary, but in reality, oftentimes when death comes, it's to make room for new things. It could be new things within the existing relationship. It could be making room for things moving forward. Sometimes you have to let go of outdated beliefs and ideas in order to, get rid of the things that are holding you back so that you can move forward in this relationship. So picking up just a couple of things, like maybe some of the things that your beliefs are, the things that you have thought or held true to for so long, Andrew, maybe some of those things have to kind of shift a little bit. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's look at where the near future is. Now, I'm calibrated to about 3 months out here. I'll tell you a little bit more about how it works here in a moment. And we'll shift the time, as I pick up on the energy surrounding this new card. Let's look at it. So the next card that we have is a Six of Pentacles. So if you look at this card, there's an individual there holding a scale in one hand, and he's holding money in the other, and he's taking some of that money, balanced that money out, and now he's actually giving back to some people that are less fortunate. Notice that he, the giver, and notice that the people taking are both very happy. They all have smiles on their face. They're all doing very well for themselves because they're all being very blessed. He's blessed to be able to bless them, and they're blessed to be able to receive their just reward. So it's a very good card. Of course, Pentacles are all about groundedness. Six of Pentacles, we're just about getting to that level of life that we're doing pretty good. Like, we haven't exactly achieved the total level of success at that point, but we're doing pretty good. We're in a pretty good, comfortable situation. That's where this starts to come into play at. This is a signal of prosperity. Whether you're giving, whether you're receiving, you're just really happy to be blessed. And the key here is to be careful not to give all of your resources or all of your possessions away, but to take a more balanced approach. And that's where the scale comes into play in this particular card. We'll talk about it again here in a more focused way here in a moment when we start to talk about all the cards kind of in unison with one another. But let's move forward to find out where the key is. We talked about this next card being kind of the answer card. This is a card that's going to really show everything, or at least be the key that unlocks everything that is going on with this relationship with you and your wife. And that is the World. Wonderful card for this particular thing. Very, very interesting that it comes up in this particular spread. The World, believe it or not, this is the last card in the Major Arcana. It's this whole journey that happens, and you get to the end of it, and it's about kind of like it's sort of everything coming full circle. So that's a really telling kind of thing. It's about taking everything that you've learned, everything that you've experienced, everything in this relationship, and then going storybook with it, basically, going full circle with it. This is where you're not having to second guess yourself. It's about really, you're at a point now that you can actually start to help other people kind of on the same journey that you've been on. So that kind of falls into place with this whole giving back, which is the card that happens right before that. So this tells me now that when we got to the Six of Pentacles, you're actually the giver, giving the reward out to the people taking. And of course, you're very happy to do that. You're more of a giver than you are a taker. And then the World card is really, everything kind of going full circle for you. The main thing with this answer card is just don't second guess yourself is really the key here. Let's continue on to find out what that Death card, that's that one that we looked at, that Death looks a little scary. Let's find out a little bit more about old Death. And so we have the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles, this is about miserliness. So what's really going on here with this relationship? Well, there's this holding on to, kind of holding on to what you have, kind of unwilling to share or really help other people that are in need, attachment to this groundedness or this materiality, this world of material possessions, that kind of thing, kind of holds us back and keeps us from being able to value the more important things in life. So Death is really about this here, letting go of these things of, feeling like you have to hold on to things, So I'm picking up a lot of things here. I'm going to go into those in more detail, but before I do, I want to get into really where you're at, the Attitude card, and where you're at. And oh my goodness, what a wonderful card, the Six of Cups. Look at this. Sometimes I think of nostalgia when I think of this card. It's really kind of reminds me of this. You see this as good times, giving back. It's giving back to the other generation, but it's really about looking back. And this basically says that what you're wanting, or your attitude, or your thing, is that new elements are entering your life, which are kind of linked to the past, which kind of work through the present to kind of create a future for yourself. And this whole thing is about repetition creates persuasion. It's about doing the same things over and over and expecting to get different results, and those different results just really don't happen. It's about getting the same consistent results, getting the things that you love. So what has worked for you in the past in your relationship, the things that have connected or bound you and your wife together so connected, that is really going to be the answer for you. That's what you're thinking anyways, the answer to this whole situation. That's kind of what you would like, is to be able to keep on doing as you have been doing and to get the same kind of outcome that you've been getting outcome. Let's look at the outcome card though. Wow. So you have the Queen of Swords. So we started with the Queen of Cups, if you remember, and that was the Queen of Materiality. That's the Queen of Relationships. And now We have the Queen of Swords. This is about the mental. So it's having control of the mind, but it's really less about control and more about influence. There is a subtle difference there. Queens are more about the influence. It's about so swords are about the intellect. So this is intellectual influence. You're able to talk to people on really an intellectual level, more of that surface level, in order to be able to perceive situations for what they actually are. And that's kind of what this card is really all about. So let's talk about the whole reading and all. I'll tell you exactly what I'm picking up from all of this. So in the current moment, you're seeing this here change happening, and the change can be scary. It really surely can. And, you've gotten yourself in a pretty good financial situation. There's that whole thing of the miserliness going on in the current situation, like feeling like you have to hold on to things because you could lose them. You don't really have to worry about that. That's not really the case and all. I'm not picking up that you and your wife will per se lose your relationship or anything like that. But I am picking up that the things that you've tried before in the relationship need to change. It's what you would like to have happen is just for things to go back to the way they were. And really, that's not a possibility in this particular read. Why? Because we have the World card, which is the answer card to the outcome, which is the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords is, just having respect on an intellectual level, being able to talk to your wife, and be able to, wield some mental influence over her as well, So just talking on that level of, it's less about the emotional side of things. It's more about the intellectual side of things. There's a difference. So we started on the emotional side in the past, and that's what things were at. Now things are becoming more about the, it's really about the intellectual or the intuitive perspective here is what we're looking at. This is the mind, and this is about kind of what you see is what you get. It's the logical side of the spectrum, if you will, and that's where we're leading into and all. Maybe that's not what we necessarily want, because we would like for things to go back to the emotional. You have the nostalgia card after all, we'd like to go back to those good times. The key is the world. Everything's coming full circle for you. So here's really the good news. This is the silver lining. This is everything that you're at. Where things are going right now, and to keep things in a real positive way for you, to keep your relationship healthy with your wife, to keep everything flowing real nicely. But eventually, and I say this with a little caution here because I don't want you to jump in the boat too quickly. You might end up in the water, and it might be a little cold out there, and it might be a little lonely. But for right now, to get back to the way things used to be, to get back to that happy place of where everything was really good and heartfelt, and it was a strong relationship and very loving relationship, and everything was the way that you wanted it to be. In order to go full circle and get back to that, right now you have to put do a little shift here. And the shift is to go from not being so emotional, but being more logical, it's just kind of the way things are. In the near future and all, not too far out, maybe about 4 months from now and stuff like that, you'll find yourself in a pretty good financial situation and all. But the key is that when you're given the opportunities to give, like to give charity or to help others out and stuff like that, do it with a nice heart, do it with loving. And I pick up that that's kind of your energy anyways, to want to do those kind of things. Stay away from the miserliness and stuff, as far as right now goes, like trying to hold on to things. It doesn't matter. Those things doesn't matter because nothing is going to happen to this relationship between you and your wife. It's going to be a very stable relationship, providing you just keep in mind kind of that everything is going full circle. You guys are just taking another round, which is perfectly good. But to get to that place where things were before, that nostalgia, that good feelings, the things that are very comfortable for you and stuff like that, that you're more in preference towards, you got to take a little bit of a break, a little pause. And now we've got to kind of shift gears and just be a little logical with things, You need to communicate in a more logical way, kind of what you see is what you get, that kind of thing, and just, present facts and just kind of, not be so emotional. And then eventually you'll find that by doing that, things will eventually come back full circle for you. And then things will go back to the way that they were. And you guys will be just as in love, just as emotionally connected as you ever have been. So those are your readings. I hope that this kind of helps you with the whole situation. It's it's a really good reading, and don't worry about the death card so much. That's about change. And that's where we're getting at with this whole changing of perspective to the more conscious, the more, being in the present moment, not shifting gears always to the past and stuff like that, but allowing things to go full circle, because eventually you'll get back to where you want to be. But you have to move forward in order to go back, if that makes sense. So, Andrew, it's a great pleasure of mine to be able to do this reading for you. I'm happy to be able to give you this news. I'm not always able to give positive relationship news when I do these readings, because I do them very honestly. And but for yours, it's a very great, happy ending, and actually a happy beginning as well. So you're going full circle there. Guys, if you guys haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already done so, hit the bell notification. So every time we come online, you can get these notifications on your smartphone or your device, your tablet, your laptop, whatever you happen to have. And that just lets you know that we're online, and that you can get some questions answered. If you want to, you can jump on, get your questions answered and stuff like that. Those are always appreciated. We love to help people out the best we can. Again, as a monk, our mission is to serve. We do this for charity, and we also do it out of the love that's in our heart. And it's really our mission to spread love for God, in the activities and the services that we do for society. If you would like to help in that mission, you can always go to helpbydonating.com. As monks, we take a vow of poverty. And this money does go to help these services that we perform. So it's always appreciated. It also helps with our basic maintenance, which is very basic. And then if you would like to get a copy of Bhagavad Gita, which is a spiritual text that's written in Sanskrit that I often reference, you can actually go to indirectknowledge.com, and you can get a copy of that book there. Anything else? Yeah, my email address will be in the description below this video if you want a tarot reading, if you have a question or anything like that and you'd like to reach out. If you're financially unable to give a donation or something like that, it doesn't matter. You can still reach out to me. We'll still try to fit you in and get you help. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please hit me up. And much love and many blessings. And I will see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge.